All right, this lesson is on color effects and then on also blending modes. Something to keep in mind is that in order for these to work, you need to make sure that the objects that you're going to be applying these to are movie symbols, not graphic symbols, okay? Now here, it doesn't matter if they're graphic symbols. If you've created them the way that I've suggested to keep them as graphic symbols, you don't have to go and change them here, because anytime that you use them as an instance, okay, that means anytime that you decide to use it, dragging it onto your stage, you can specify specifically what you want to use it as, okay? So you can change the instance of it from a graphic clip to a movie clip. All right, so to do that, I'm going to go ahead and grab this object. This is the one that I'm going to want to manipulate. I'm going to go into my properties palette. All right, I've selected it here. These are the presents, okay? I can go in here and I can select and change it to a movie clip. That's the instance of it, okay? Now you'll notice I got a whole bunch more options here. Watch, I'm going to go back to graphics, and here you have position, color effect, and looping, and here you have position, 3D position, color effect, display, and filters, okay? Now we're going to go over some of these other ones in other videos, so I'm just going to focus on what this one's about. All right, color effect. If you go in here, you have the ability to change the alpha of something. That's the equivalent of the transparency of something. Okay, so you can go in here and you can change it. And right now, this object is just transparent. Okay, what you'll notice is that it's transparent, but it's also being transparent in the areas where it was built, and I don't necessarily want that. So in that case, I need to have this display option available to do layer. And when I do layer, now it holds the transparency the way that I built it. Okay. So you'll notice that first and foremost, all right? So that's the alpha. I'm going to go ahead and leave this alpha here. What I want you to notice is that if I decide to do a different effect, such as, let's say, tint. Tint is where I can change the color of something, okay? I'm just going to manipulate these so that you can kind of see what I'm doing here, so that you can see a difference, okay? All right, there. Now they're different from what they were before. Notice, though, that it's not any longer transparent, okay? You lost the alpha. One replaces the other. If you want to do both simultaneously, you would want to select advanced. And here you have the ability to manipulate the alpha, okay, and also to manipulate the color. All right. So you can manipulate all of those settings, always remembering to make sure under display to change this to layer as opposed to normal, because normal will leave you seeing that overlap there, okay? All right, so I'm going to change this back to layer. All right, so now we have a stationary item that you want transparent, but you can also animate this transparency to happen. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new layer. I'm going to call it presence animate, okay? And I'm going to go into my layer there, and I'm going to go into the library. I'm going to grab these presents again. I'm just going to drop them here. And now they're going to be this to begin with, and I'm going to activate this to be a motion tween, just like I would if I were going to move this off the stage. But instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say at the very end of the timeline here, I'm going to grab this object on the stage. You've got to make sure you grab it on the stage. I'm going to go to properties, and I'm going to change this to a movie clip so that I know it's a movie clip. It doesn't matter if you do this first or at the end, it's going to apply it automatically to the whole thing. And I'm going to go in here, and now I'm going to change the advanced. I'm going to change both things. I'm going to change the alpha so that it becomes transparent, and I'm going to also change the color so that it changes to a different color at the end. Okay. All right, there we go. And I'm going to make sure to change this to layer so that it doesn't holds that the way that I intended it to be visible. All right. So now if I go to the beginning, I have this one that's just transparent because I told it to be that way, and the color that I changed it to. And this one is gradually not only becoming transparent, it's also becoming a different color. And I know that it's becoming transparent as it's allowing some of this ground to be seen through it, whereas there it's not. Okay. So I could also manipulate in between here, where I manipulate this, I move it to the timeline, I select here, and I can change the transparency to go less here, almost to nothing pretty much, and then go here, and then I can tell it to select it. I got to make sure I select it. Go in here and then bring it back up, and then I can go down here and I can bring it, select it, bring it back down. Okay, so I can basically have it fluctuate in that. I could also do the color simultaneously. I'm just deciding to change the alpha. Okay, so you can animate this just like you would a movement animation or a scale animation at any point in time. You just have to activate it and tell it that it's going to be an animation, and then do whatever you want to it. Always remembering to select it and then make the changes, and then also to make sure that you, when you select it, that you specify that it's a movie clip. Okay. All right. Now another thing you can do, I'm going to go ahead and create a new layer for this one. This one is going to be a blending mode. So I'm going to call it blending presence. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the shapes again. And this one, just to illustrate, it's just visible here for that duration. I can just grab this object here, go to properties, and I could, to get the options to pull up for blending modes, I need to make sure that I'm on a movie clip. And I'd go to here to blending. You can have all these other options, and you'll notice some of these are familiar to you likely. So we got darken here. You could try multiply, and some of these might be familiar to you now, okay? And basically what they do is they blend with the object beneath them, okay? The difference with this here is that you cannot animate it. If you start trying to change it and just make it change its mode, it's not going to happen, okay? So something to keep in mind. All right, so that covers your lesson on color modes and blending modes. If you have any questions, make sure you hit me up or visit me on Skype.